Hi, I'm here today with author Karen. Make sure I say this right. Randau, is that how you say your name, Karen?
Randau.
Rondo. Oh, it doesn't even sound, what is that? Is that French? What is that?
French,
It is
yes.
French. Okay,
Yes.
Rondo. I should have known that. Took French for 3 years in high school. You can see it really stuck. Okay, I'm here with Karen. She writes suspense, fiction, obviously, suspense, mystery, romantic suspense, all that kind of stuff. So Karen, I'm just going to let you jump in here and tell everyone a little about yourself.
Okay, well, I am a lifelong writer. I have a degree in journalism, but it took one semester on the school newspaper at the University of Texas for me to figure out that journalism was not the career for me. So after working in high tech, I found my calling actually in an international nonprofit that works with people in developing countries to help them pull themselves out of poverty. I ran the marketing and communications department there. And while I was speaking with a coworker one day, I was confessing that I had these really strange thoughts that bothered me a lot. And I said, "Do you think I've lost my mind?" And she
Mhm.
said, "No, I think you have a novel in you and it's screaming to get out." And it was like it opening up a dam for me because, well, as you can see, I've written a lot of books.
Yes.
And of course, journalism writing and marketing writing are a whole lot different than novel writing. And the first book I wrote didn't get published. I am so happy about that. Um, but I had it edited 5 times and I rewrote it 5 times and I pitched it to agents and I pitched it to publishers. And I am so, so thankful that nobody liked it.
Why is that?
Well, it wasn't very good. I think it would have been embarrassing for me
Oh,
to have that published.
so it's funny you said that you a semester of journalism. I did the same thing. I went into college thinking, oh, I'm going to be a journalist because I was again a lifetime writer like you were. And it didn't even take me a semester. It took me about 2 weeks, and I said, "Oh, I don't like this at all." So tell us, how did you start? I mean, how long ago? Because we went over Karen's books right before we got started recording here. And Karen, we're talking today about From Chaos, which is in your Peach Blossom Romantic Suspense series. But you have this is your second book in that series. You have three books in of is it Frankie Shop? Frankie, I can't read my own writing.
Shep, Frankie
Frankie
Shep.
Shep. Can't read my own writing. It's very sad. Kayla Walsh, you have three books, and then there's the Rim Country Mysteries, and there's 4 books in there. So I'm counting up 12 books here. So and word length, what is it? Are they all typically the same size books? Are they all novel length?
Uh, the Frankie Shep, the 3 books in that series, and the Kayla Walsh trilogy are all novellas. The
Okay.
first 4 books were traditionally published in the Rim Country Mystery Series.
Okay.
And Rim Country is a part of Arizona where I live, up in the mountains above Phoenix. And so I have a fictional town that takes place, the work that those books are set in. And then I also have a novella that was part of a multi-author series where we all took our characters to a resort in New Jersey. So
Okay.
it's 13 books altogether, including that one.
Okay. Okay. I see that now. Okay. So your Rim Country, though, those are full-length novels, right?
They are. And so are the Peach Blossom Romantic Suspense novels. They're both novels.
Now, do you indie publish any of your stuff, or is it they all traditionally published?
I decided I would prefer indie publishing after the first 5 books. So
Okay.
the rest of them have been indie published.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your writing day. What does that look like for you? Are you a full-time writing? Because you have marketing as well, I'm assuming, and all that
Yes.
goes with it. So just give us a typical snapshot of what your day looks like.
Well, I am a very early riser, like wee morning hours. And so that is when I am the most creative and the most productive. So I try to do my writing there. If I get started doing anything else, I probably won't write that day. So I try to write for 2 or 3 hours before the rest of my family gets up. And then I don't write again until everybody's settled down. and I might get some more writing in, but then like you said, I have to fit in marketing as well. And I usually do that. That's the next thing I do.
So do you have kids at home still?
I have a multi-generational family. Our son lives with us and his son.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's pretty busy.
Yes,
So you're being mom and grandma.
I
So
am.
yeah, we're up at our typical up time is between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. And I find that's the best time too, to be able
Absolutely.
to be focused. But yeah, that's good for you. So how many words do you typically write then? And I mean, I'm just like, I'm kind of anal about my schedule. Like I have to get so many, especially because I have a traditional publisher, so I have deadlines. I can't pick and choose when I want them to be ready. So I have to have word count, and that's what I go by. So do you do that, or do you just kind of, because you're doing it yourself, you get to pick and choose, or are you pretty structured?
I am fairly structured. I aim for 1,000 words a day. I don't always make it. Sometimes I don't feel like writing, so I'll write 250 words. But my goal is 1,000, and sometimes I'll do 3,000.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, one other question then. Do you have, with all that's going on in your life, do you have any hobbies? And if you do they play into any of your stories?
I don't really have hobbies. My husband and grandson are rock hounds. And so I'm going to put that in a story soon. I haven't yet, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, and then what about like inspiration? Do your characters are they kind of reflective of people that you know, or are they completely fictional um with nothing to do with others that you might be in contact with?
There are pieces of people I know in all of my characters. Um, the inspiration for the first series was the setting where I live. I made up a town and people and based them on similar people.
Yeah.
Um, the Peach Blossom Romantic Suspense series is set in a fictional farming community of Oklahoma, and that is near the real town of Tahlequah, Oklahoma, which is the home of the Cherokee Nation. And my sister and I visited Tahlequah, and we were so delighted to find the Cherokee Museum. And in the concrete in the sidewalk that surrounds their building is the history of the Cherokee people.
Mm.
And it was amazing. And they also have statues of important people in Cherokee culture, in the Cherokee Nation. And we were surprised to see a statue of a previous chief who had the same last name as some of our family, my paternal grandmother's family. So that just set my imagination going. And so I wanted to write a series based in that area, and that's what I did. And the first book, Into the Fog, does have a little bit in there about the Cherokee culture and Cherokee art.
Okay. So that was your inspiration for that setting. Do you
Yeah.
find yourself, I don't know how far, like my sister lives in Oklahoma, but she's near Broken Arrow,
Oh,
Tulsa
yeah.
area. So I don't know how far that is from, say, where you're talking about.
Very close.
And you're
About
in,
an hour.
okay, so then you're in Arizona. So do you go back to that area and hang out there? I don't know. I'm bad with geography, and which is very sad because I was a history and English teacher for years, so that you think I would know my geography better.
My sister lives in Broken Arrow.
Oh, okay.
So I visit, but I also lived there for a little while in Broken Arrow.
Well, you may
And
know my sister, then you never know. She's been there since she was 18 years old.
oh my goodness,
Yeah, how funny. Small world, really.
it is.
So tell us a little bit about some of your other series, like your Rim Country Mysteries. Tell us some about that. And when did you start writing those? Because you have all these books out. When was your first book published?
The first book is Deadly Deceit, and it was published in 2016. And a woman was going to the movies with her husband on their 30th wedding anniversary, and there was a theater shooting, and her husband died in that shooting.
Mm.
And the detective who investigated and her, by the end of the book, get together, but they together untangle a web of lies that led back to her husband's service in Afghanistan. I mean Iraq.
Okay, so that leads to the question, how do you do your research? How do you delve into that and make sure that you're accurate? Is that a lot of research for you to do? And where do you handle all that?
I do a lot of research, usually online, but I have a military family, so it's easy for me to say, "Hey, is this realistic?"
And that
Um,
helps.
and then I do incorporate things. I worked for, as I mentioned, an international nonprofit that works in developing countries, and so I've done a lot of traveling. So I've incorporated some of that into that series, for sure.
Well, it helps if you have some kind of a background in an area that other people might find fascinating and don't have a lot of knowledge of, then you could bring that into it and make your story more, better rounded and more interesting. So that's pretty
Yes,
cool. So
yes.
rim country then, where I mean you might have already told me, but where are all those books set in the same place? Rim country. I mean, what is rim country?
I live in Payson, Arizona, which is in the mountains above Phoenix at 5,000 feet. And there is a place here in the mountains called Mogollon Rim. It is a part of the Colorado Plateau of the Rocky Mountains. And so our town, we call it Rim Country.
Got you. So you've got quite a few places that you've been to and have knowledge of that helps bring in the setting for your books.
Yes. In
Okay.
fact, the next series, the Frankie Shep series, takes place on a ranch in Wyoming. And I just visited there and fell in love with the area and the ranches that I saw there. And so I wanted to set a series there. But I did have to do some research and draw on my own traveling there.
Well, that's helpful too. Yeah, it makes it a lot nicer. So,
Yeah.
okay, so if you're not writing every day, like my writing thing is like I try to pump out 3,000 words a day. That's my good day. But so I'm pretty strict, but I'd rather be doing a lot of other things. So I'd like to know what you do with your time if you're not writing. I know you have family, but are you like spending time with your grandson? Are you have no hobbies you can speak of? So what do you do with your time?
Well, I have my grandson who's 8. So with the pandemic, I was homeschooling.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but it was easy the first year because the pandemic started and the schools closed down the middle of kindergarten. So that was pretty easy. And then the next year, they weren't sure when the school was going to start. And I wasn't willing to let it go until October, which it
right.
did. So I homeschooled for the first semester of first grade. And then the public school was still just online. So we put them in the local Christian school. And now when he gets home, neither one of us was fit for homeschooling. He's too social, which I'm not. And I have this type A personality where I would have had him graduating from high school by the time he was 12, because we were just really breezing through this curriculum. So now I have my days free, and I have a cousin who lives here, and I get together with people I know and
Oh my
enjoy
gosh.
there's not a lot of great cuisine in our little town of 20,000 people, but we go out to lunch a lot. And my husband and I work on our house and our yard.
Oh, sounds pretty idyllic, actually.
It
Aside from
is.
all the people living there, I think that would drive me crazy having all the people living there. It sounds like you handle it very well, though.
Well, fortunately for everyone, including me, I'm a very even keeled person and it's hard to ruffle my feathers.
Well, that's good. So your books, do you have a faith message that runs through all of them? Some of them are some of the series stronger with a faith message than others?
The Peach Blossom Romantic Suspense are definitely Christian books. The rest of them are Christian worldview. So all of the characters, there's no graphic sex in either of them or in any of them, but there's violence. But all of my characters are Christians, and it comes out in their prayers and in the way that they live their lives.
Okay, well, that pretty much sums it up then. I think that would all be considered Christian then, although, it's nice when it's a little bit under the radar, so you get people reading them that may not, necessarily pick up a Christian book if they really know that's what it is.
Right.
So my sister became a Christian because of a Christian fiction book she picked up. So you just never know,
Right.
where they're going to find that. So I can kind of see in your background, you've got nice spacers. Is that your writing space? Do you have an office that you work in, or are you just kind of sitting at the dining room table working?
I like to sit at the dining room table and look out the window, because out the window is the Mogollon Rim and a bunch of trees. This area has a very large stand of ponderosa pines. It's real pretty. So I enjoy that. But I also have a desk, and it's in front of a window that looks into another window.
Not quite as fun, no.
Excuse me?
It's not quite as fun to look in a window.
No.
Into a window.
No, it's really nice to look out at the Mogollon Rim.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so tell us the premise of your book that's coming out, or the one that we're talking about today. It's the From Chaos. Tell us the premise of From Chaos.
A couple go out on their first date, and they witness a murder, and so now they're on the run, and they have to lean on each other and their faith, and in the process they face their darkest moments, and they are healing both spiritually and emotionally, and they're ready to risk loving again. And that's kind of the concept of the Peach Blossom Romantic Suspense series. And that is, each book is standalone, but they may have some of the same characters, but they're a different couple in each book. And I'm thinking all of them will be having a second chance at love.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. Yeah. Okay, so what else? You're not very talkative. Usually I get on here and I have trouble getting a word in. So I feel like I'm pulling stuff out of you. So forgive me if I keep asking what seems like boring questions. I'm just trying to get a more of a sense of things. I had a podcast the other day and I couldn't get a word in edgewise. I couldn't get a question out. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to find questions to keep you motivated to talk about. So tell us about, you said you have to market, obviously. Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? What are your major marketing things? How do you market?
I am on a lot of social media. I do put my books on pre-order, and then I just really market them on social media, but I also will buy ads on Facebook and Amazon. And I do podcasts, and I do guest blog posts, and all the things that you're supposed to do in order to get people more aware of your book.
And how do you find those people? I mean, I know you found me. I'm not quite sure how. I wasn't advertising at the time that you popped in there, so I wasn't sure how you found me. But I know, like, finding somebody to guest blog for, do you just contact authors and say, hey, I'd love to be a guest, have a guest post on your blog, or how do you do that?
I do that. I've also paid for a company to set up blog tours for me. I've done that several times, but this time, and how I found you, I joined the ACFW, American Christian
Fiction,
Christ, yeah.
that
And I was interviewed by an author that I saw through that organization. I don't remember how. And then I saw her keep posting things with her interview, so I just pitched those people.
Oh, nice. Who do you remember who the author is?
Sarah Hamaker.
Okay, I don't even know that name. How sad is that? Well, it's interesting because you do have to find, like, I also do blog tour. My publisher is Celebrate Lit, and I don't know if you've heard of them. And she does do, the publisher started out doing publicity and started with blog tours. So I often will do a book review and put it on a blog tour as well. So that's another avenue you could go to if you get a hold of Celebrate Lit. She does that all the time. Also does multi-author promos every month. There's a multi-author promo with her. So you might want to check her out if you're looking for places to
Yeah.
plug.
I have used Celebrate Lit twice, and I was
Okay.
very, very satisfied with them, but I didn't know about the multi-author
Yeah.
promotion. So I definitely will check into that.
Yeah, she does that every month. And I think you can even, like I get on occasion. I don't get on there all the time anymore, but I'll get on there when I have a book coming out. Because I'm fortunate because I'm one of her authors. If there's a free space, she'll plug me in there anyway. So, you know, I think it's pretty inexpensive way to get the multi-author promo. And there's a lot of, I mean, they have over 900,000 people that are seeing those every time they go out. So it's pretty good. So
Yeah.
just a little plug for them, just so you know there's somewhere else to go. We're always looking for places to market, right? That's something a little different than Instagram and Facebook and Goodreads. And after a while, you kind of I feel like I'm just kind of plugging along when you need something fresh and new.
Right. I I feel often that I put things on social media too often
In-
because like you were saying, and it's hard to stay fresh,
Right.
and I don't want to only say buy my book. So I'm always looking for memes about about writing and also promoting other authors. I actually like to do that.
I do too. Have you done like memes with just say pull quotes from your book with a really good graphic and just plug that on there?
Yes,
Yeah.
we've done that.
That way you're not saying buy my book, at least you're just highlighting an interesting quote and then asking a question just to get some conversation going. It's not really, it is plugging it, but it's not quite as obvious as saying buy my book. It's more like a character says this and one of you found yourself in this situation. It makes it a little softer and just
Yes,
piques some
I
interest.
I've done that, and also reviews, just a little bit of like a sentence of what somebody has said in a review.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea too. So when you were growing up, I'm assuming you were an avid reader.
Yes, I loved Nancy Drew.
Oh, me too. I had all
I
the Nancy Drew books.
I also, in addition to reading, I would make up scenes in my head and I would act them out.
Oh,
And so,
really?
yeah, and so I told you about when I was confessing my my thoughts to my friend, I was acting out this scene in my head, and I just really thought this is it was a Bigfoot.
It
I
was a
had
what?
a Bigfoot.
That's what I thought you said.
My son was a Boy Scout, and he had come back from a camping trip with the Boy Scouts and said that he saw a Bigfoot. And so I thought,
Oh,
how come it's always the kids that see them, not the moms? And so I, in my head, wrote this scene with a Bigfoot, and then I wrote a whole novel about it.
it was like dreaming up your books. That makes it kind of easy to do.
Yeah,
So
I
other
do.
than,
Go
sorry.
sorry. Well, I also have some nonfiction books that I wrote in the 90s and that were published by Thomas Nelson.
Oh,
And at
really?
that time, my husband and I, this was before we had our son, were backpacking. And so we would go with groups, and I would walk in the back of the line, usually pretty far behind everybody, and write my next chapter.
Sweet. So aside from Nancy Drew books, did you have a favorite or a memorable book that you read as a child that sticks with you today?
Not really, just the Nancy Drew books, but I will say, as the young adult, the Left Behind books had a major
Oh, yeah.
impact on me, and I totally enjoyed them.
Yeah, those are pretty special. Now you see Kirk Cameron, played in the movies. He's all over the place. And
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Jenkins' son Dallas doing the whole Chosen series. It's pretty incredible when you see. I saw Jerry, my very first writers conference I ever went to. I was terrified because I am a horrible introvert and I was scared to death. Literally thought I was sick. I thought I had the flu on the way up. I was shaking so bad, had chills, the whole bit. I was so scared. And they room you with people you don't know in a dark cabin down in the bottom of this forest. So you just haven't got any clue what's going to go on. But Jerry Jenkins and Debbie Maycomer were the main speakers of that conference, and it was impactful. Jerry Jenkins getting up and speaking about, he was talking mostly about the memoirs he did with Billy Graham, which was so incredible to hear him speak about. And then Debbie Maycomer was up. They were both up every night, but her whole talk was how to become an overnight success in 20 years. And it was her just so inspirational to see that if you come to this conference and you've never done much with yourself yet and you don't know what you are, there's still hope. Just because you're brand new, there's always hope. So it's pretty good. But to see the legacy that Jerry Jenkins left with his son now, who's doing things that are impacting the world right now, the world for Christ, is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to a Christian Writers Conference next week, as a matter of fact, and a part of the country I've never been to. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's the Blue Ridge Christian Writers Conference.
I'm going to be there.
Oh, well, hopefully I'll see you.
Yeah, we'll have to connect. My friend Blossom is coming from Canada. We met at the Mount Hermon Christian Writers Conference back in, my first conference was in 2008 in Northern California. And that's where I met her. And I've gone almost, until we moved to Tennessee, I went almost every single year. And so Blue Ridge is going to be the first time I've been there. So
Me too. I'm really looking forward to it. I've always wanted to go to that part of the country, but just never have. And then my sister last year moved to the Savannah, Georgia area. And so I'm going there first, and then I'm driving to Blue Ridge, and I'm making a road trip out of it.
Oh, good for you. We're driving from here. We're in Lewisburg, Tennessee, which is about an hour south of Nashville. So we're going to drive from here. But Savannah is one of my favorite. In fact, I'm going to set some of my next series I'm going to do in all these different southern big cities. I think I'm going to do a dual timeline, historical and contemporary collide. But Savannah is one of them I want to do it in. I love Savannah. It's got some interesting history.
I've always wanted to go there because of the history. I've just always wanted to go there. And so now I'm excited that I get to. And, you see these beautiful pictures of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, well, good.
And then there's going to be this conference.
That's right. The conference on top of everything else. Well, I hope I'll see you there, because it's pretty funny that we talk and we're both going to be heading out there a week from Sunday. Actually, it starts. So
yeah.
But again, I have to tell people we're recording this at this time. By the time you hear this, the conference will be long gone. So just don't get where you think you're going to be able to connect with that. So every year, though, I think it's the last weekend in May, over Memorial Weekend, they have the Blue Ridge, and I'm really looking forward to going too. So I'll look you up. I'll find a way to find you.
Okay, I look forward to that.
So one more question, and then I'll let you go. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers, somebody who really wants to write and doesn't know where to start?
Yes, I think you should just start where you are. People say write what you know, and personally, I thought I didn't know anything, even though I've traveled all over the world. But there are things I know. I had a son who's a Boy Scout, and so I get that into my books, and you'll be surprised at the things you know. And just keep it up and join a critique group. Find a critique group of like-minded people, and don't get your feelings hurt.
Right. Have tough skin.
You have to have a really tough skin. And most writers are introverts. That's why we're writers.
That's right.
And you just have to push yourself. I mean, it's hard for me to go to this conference by myself and introduce myself to people. And I say I'm the world's worst networker, because I will stand on the sidelines and watch people network.
Sound like you and I are not that far apart, Karen, because I was like that too.
But you have to push yourself, right? You just have to do it.
And people are so welcoming. They really are, especially if you're in the Christian writers community. People are welcoming, and they're loving, and they're open. So I think that's great. And I will definitely find you there. We'll connect somehow. You won't be alone. We'll sit together at some point. And Blossom, my friend Blossom, even though she's a writer as well, she's not an introvert. So she will have you meeting everybody.
Oh,
that won't be a problem at all. I tend to be kind of her shadow sometimes, but well, that's good advice. I do think that when you're talking about writing what you know, I think one of my mistake was the same thing, is I don't know anything, but emotions are important. And when you have gone through a season of hard stuff, you can write from that perspective. And I think that's what really draws people is, you know, the redemption story, the hope, the inspiration you can get from other people going through tough times. So it doesn't have to be, you know, if I wrote what I knew, everybody would be a teacher, and that doesn't really work out too well. And you can research things, but well, it's been nice chatting with you, Karen. I'm excited to meet you at the conference. So,
I look forward to it.
okay, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. And the next time you have another book coming out, let me know, and we'll just put you back on here. And maybe I'll give you some questions ahead of time and get you going, so that you're not so having to wait for me to ask questions. So it's
You
been
know, when I was worked at the international nonprofit I told you about, I was the spokesperson, and I learned to speak in sound bites. So that's what I do.
That's probably what it is you're used to just giving quick little it's like,
Yes.
okay, let's expand on that. Let's talk a little bit more. Not that we have to fill all the time in, but I didn't want to be done in 8 minutes either. So it's been a pleasure, Karen, and I thank you so much for taking the time. And
Well, thank you.
I will put all of her information in the show notes. You guys will be able to connect with her. I'll have her website on there. I'll have the list of her books on there. If you have an Amazon, if you're an Amazon author or whatever else, we'll get all those links on there. So we'll get that all set up for those of you listening, so you can connect with Karen and read her books. So thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure, Karen.
Same here. Thank you.